You know why they can't handle you? Because you're not like them, and that's not a bad thing. That's a wonderful thing. I want to tell you something important today. Most folks go through life trying to fit in. They follow the crowd. They do what everyone else does. But not you. You got that spark, that little something extra, that thing that makes you stand up when others sit down. That makes you speak up when others stay quiet. That makes you take a chance when others play it safe. And let me tell you, that makes some people very uncomfortable. I learned this lesson early in my life. I was just a farm boy from Idaho with big dreams. When I started talking about wanting more, about reading books and changing my life, some people laughed. Some rolled their eyes. Some told me to stop being so foolish. Jim, they'd say, "Who do you think you are? What makes you think you're so special?" And for a while, those words hurt. For a while, I wondered if they were right. But here's what I figured out. And what I want you to understand today, when people can't handle you, it says more about them than it does about you. Most people are scared. They're scared of change. They're scared of risk. They're scared of standing out. So when they see someone who isn't afraid, someone like you, it holds up a mirror to their own fear. And nobody likes to be reminded of their fear. Think about crabs in a bucket. When one crab tries to climb out, the other crabs pull it back down. Not because they're evil, but because your climbing makes them question why they're not climbing too. I remember when I first started giving talks, there were plenty of folks who said, "Who does he think he is? Why should we listen to him?" And I could have let those voices stop me, but I didn't. Because I understood something powerful. I understood that being different isn't just okay. It's necessary. It's necessary for growth. It's necessary for success. It's necessary for living a life that matters. Now, being different isn't about being flashy or controversial, just for the sake of it. Being different means having the courage to be who you truly are. It means standing by your values. It means pursuing your dreams, even when others don't understand them. You know, I've spent time with some of the most successful people in the world, and you know what they all have in common? They're all a little bit different. They all zigged when others zagged. They all followed their own path. They all listened to that quiet voice inside that said, "There's another way." But here's the thing about being different. It comes with a price. Oh yes, there's always a price. The price is that some people won't like you. Some people won't get you. Some people will criticize you, mock you, try to bring you down. And that's not easy to handle. We're social creatures. We want to be liked. We want to belong. But I'm here to tell you that the approval of others is too high a price to pay for giving up on your dreams. The comfort of fitting in is too high a price to pay for giving up on your potential. I learned this lesson when I was just starting out in business. I had ideas that weren't conventional. I wanted to do things differently. And boy, did I hear about it. That's not how we do things, Jim. That won't work, Jim. You're making a mistake, Jim. But you know what? Those people who were so sure I was wrong, they weren't the ones who had to live my life. They weren't the ones who had to look in the mirror each morning. That was my job. And it's your job too. You have to live with yourself. So make choices you can be proud of, even if those choices make you different. Even if those choices make some people uncomfortable. Now, let's talk about why most people resist those who are different. It's about something deep. Most people have settled. They've settled for less than they're capable of. They've settled for less than they once dreamed of. They've made peace with mediocrity. They've made friends with good enough. And when they see someone who refuses to settle, someone like you, it forces them to confront their own settling. It forces them to face the gap between who they are and who they could be. And that's painful. That's uncomfortable. So instead of dealing with that discomfort, they try to make you more like them. They try to convince you to settle too. Be realistic, they say. Don't get your hopes up, they warn. Who do you think you are? They asked. But here's what they don't understand. You're not being unrealistic. You're refusing to accept artificial limits. You're not getting your hopes up too high. You're refusing to aim too low. You're not thinking too much of yourself. You're refusing to think too little of yourself. And that's why they can't handle you. Because every time they look at you, they're reminded of their own unfulfilled potential, They're reminded of the dreams they gave up on. They're reminded of the person they could have become. That's a tough pill to swallow. So instead of swallowing it, they try to change you. They try to make you more reasonable, more practical, more like them. Don't let them. Don't let anyone talk you out of your dreams. Don't let anyone convince you to be less than you can be. Because the world doesn't need more people who are all the same. The world needs people who are brave enough to be different. The world needs people who are bold enough to stand out. The world needs people like you. Now let's talk about the price of pursuing excellence, because there is a price. Oh yes, there's always a price. When you choose to pursue excellence, you choose a harder path. You choose to get up early when others are sleeping. You choose to study when others are partying. You choose to save when others are spending. You choose to work when others are playing. And that's not easy. That's not comfortable. That's not always fun. I remember in my early days watching my friends go out on Friday nights while I stayed home to read and learn and grow. I remember seeing them buy new cars and new clothes while I invested in my education and my business. I remember hearing them talk about TV shows and sports games while I talked about ideas. And was it hard? Yes. Did I sometimes feel left out? Yes. Did I sometimes wonder if I was making the right choice? But I also knew something they didn't know. I knew that temporary sacrifice leads to long-term gain. I knew that short-term discomfort leads to long-term success. I knew that the price of being different today would be worth the reward of being extraordinary tomorrow. And I was right. The friends who were partying while I was working, many of them are still in the same place they were 20 years ago. The people who were spending while I was investing, many of them are still living paycheck to paycheck. The folks who were killing time while I was using time, many of them are still wondering where their time went. Now, I don't say this to judge them. We all make our choices. But I say this to reassure you. The price you're paying now for being different, it's worth it. The ridicule, the loneliness, the hard work, it's all worth it. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that the very things that made you different are the very things that made you successful. The very things that made you stand out are the very things that made you stand up. But until that day comes, you'll have to deal with criticism and rejection. And let me tell you, that's not the easy part. When you choose to be different, criticism comes with the territory. People will question your choices. People will doubt your abilities. People will mock your dreams. I remember when I first told people I wanted to be a speaker and an entrepreneur. I remember the looks on their faces. I remember the doubt in their voices. I remember the whispers behind my back. Jim's got his head in the clouds. Jim thinks he's better than us. Jim's going to fall flat on his face. Some days, those words got to me. Some days, they made me question myself. Some days, they made me wonder if I was on the right path. But then I learned something that changed everything. I learned that criticism is a tax you pay for being different. It's a tax you pay for standing out. It's a tax you pay for pursuing excellence. And once I understood that criticism lost its power over me, it didn't sting so much anymore, because I expected it. I anticipated it. I accepted it as part of the journey. You need to understand that criticism isn't something to fear. It's something to expect. It's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. Often, it's a sign that you're doing something right. Think about it. It's no one criticizes the person who never tries. No one who mocks the person who never takes a chance. No one attacks the person who never stands out. Criticism is the shadow of ambition. The bigger your ambition, the bigger the shadow. So when you face criticism, don't shrink from it. See it for what it really is, evidence that you're on the right track, evidence that you're making a mark, evidence that you're not like everyone else. And as for rejection, well, that's part of the deal too. When you're different, some people won't accept you. Some people won't include you. Some people won't understand you. I've been rejected more times than I can count. I've been turned down for opportunities. I've been left out of groups. I've been misunderstood and misjudged. But here's what I've learned. Rejection doesn't determine your worth. Rejection doesn't define your future. Rejection is just one person's or one group's opinion, and opinions change. The very people who reject you today might come asking for your advice tomorrow. The very organizations that turn you down today might beg for your involvement tomorrow. The very communities that exclude you today might celebrate you tomorrow. So don't let rejection stop you. Don't let it slow you down. Don't let it change who you are or what you believe in. Instead, use rejection as fuel. Use it to prove the doubters wrong. Use it to strengthen your resolve. Use it to sharpen your skills. Some of the most successful people in history faced massive rejection before they found massive success. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was kicked out of the company he founded. But they didn't let rejection define them. They didn't let rejection stop them. They used rejection as a stepping stone, not a stopping point. And you can do the same. You can use the rejection you face not as evidence that you should give up, but as evidence that you're doing something few people have the courage to do. You're being truly, authentically, unapologetically you. Now, let's talk about building resilience against others' opinions, because that's a critical skill for anyone who's different. Opinions are like the weather. They change constantly. They're different everywhere you go, and you can't control them. What you can control is how much you let them affect you. I've met people who are completely controlled by the opinions of others. They dress for others' approval. They speak for others' approval. They live for others' approval. And you know what? They're miserable. They're exhausted. They're lost. Because they're always chasing something they can never catch, universal approval. Let me tell you something important. You will never, ever please everyone. It's impossible. It's a fool's errand. It's a game you can't win. So stop playing that game. Stop trying to make everyone happy. Stop trying to avoid all criticism. Stop trying to be loved by all. Instead, decide whose opinions truly matter to you. Is it your family? Your closest friends, your mentors, the people you respect most in your field? Focus on those opinions, give them weight, consider them carefully, but even then, remember that they're just opinions, not facts, not laws, not commandments. I have a small circle of people whose opinions I value deeply. When they offer criticism, I listen. When they have concerns, I consider them. When they give advice, I take it seriously. But outside that circle, I've learned to let those opinions slide right off me. Not because I don't respect others, but because I can't live my life based on what everyone thinks. I remember a time early in my speaking career when I received some harsh criticism after a talk. The person said my style was too simple, my examples were too basic, my philosophy was too optimistic. For days, I obsessed over those words. I questioned my approach. I wondered if I should change my style. I worried that maybe I wasn't cut out for this work after all. But then I remembered the letters and messages I had received from people who said my talk had changed their perspective. People who said my simple style helped them understand complex ideas. People who said my basic examples resonated with their real-life experiences. People who said my optimistic philosophy gave them hope when they needed it most. And I realized something important. The criticism I received wasn't wrong. It was just one perspective, one opinion, one point of view, and it didn't outweigh all the other perspectives, opinions, and points of view. That's when I decided to develop what I call a resilient mindset. A mindset that can take in criticism without being destroyed by it. A mindset that can acknowledge different opinions without being controlled by them. A mindset that values feedback but doesn't worship it. And here's how you can develop that same resilient mindset. First, know who you are and what you stand for. Have clear values. Have clear principles. Have clear goals. When you know who you are, others' opinions have less power to shake you. Second, separate feedback from identity. When someone criticizes something you did, they're not criticizing who you are. When someone rejects an idea you have, they're not rejecting you as a person. Learn to make this distinction. Third, look for the grain of truth. Even in harsh or unfair criticism, there's often a small grain of truth. Find it, learn from it, use it to grow, then discard the rest. Fourth, remember that opinions change. The person who criticizes you today might praise you tomorrow. The trend that's unpopular today might be celebrated tomorrow. Don't overvalue any single moment of feedback. Fifth, build a support system. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who understand you, who support you. Their presence will help you weather the storms of criticism and rejection. With these 5 strategies, you can build a resilience that will serve you well on your unique path. Now, let's talk about creating your own path, because that's what being different is really all about. Most people follow paths that others have created. They go to the schools others recommend. They pursue the careers others value. They live the lives others expect. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Following a well-worn path can lead to a good life, a comfortable life, a respectable life. But for some of us, for people like you, that's not enough. We don't want just a good life. We want an extraordinary life. We don't want just to be comfortable. We want to be challenged. We don't want just to be respected. We want to make a difference. And to do that, you often have to create your own path. I didn't follow a traditional path. I didn't come from privilege. I didn't have fancy degrees. I didn't have powerful connections. I had to make my own way. I had to forge my own path. And you know what? It wasn't easy. There were no maps. There were no guarantees. There were no safety nets. There were plenty of times when I wondered if I was lost. Plenty of times when I questioned my direction. Plenty of times when I thought about turning back. But I kept going. I kept creating. I kept forging ahead. And eventually my path led me to places I never could have reached if I had simply followed the crowd. So how do you create your own path? How do you forge your own way? First, you listen to your intuition, that quiet voice inside that guides you toward what's right for you, even if it's not right for everyone else. That feeling in your gut that tells you when you're on the right track, even if it's not the popular track. Second, you experiment. You try things. You take chances. You step out of your comfort zone. You don't have to have it all figured out before you start. You don't have to see the whole path before you take the first step. You just have to be willing to move forward, to learn as you go, to adjust your course as needed. Third, you learn from everyone, but you copy no one. You take inspiration from others' journeys, but you don't try to replicate them exactly. You understand that what worked for someone else might not work for you, and what's right for you might not be right for someone else. Fourth, you embrace uncertainty. You make peace with not knowing exactly where your path will lead. You understand that the most interesting journeys are the ones with unexpected turns. Fifth, you persist. You keep going when the path gets tough. You keep creating when others doubt your direction. You keep believing in your journey even when you can't see the destination. Creating your own path isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily choice. It's a continuous act of courage. It's an ongoing exercise in faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your vision, faith in the path you're creating. Now, let's talk about turning your difference into your advantage, because being different isn't just something to endure. It's something to leverage. It's not just a challenge to overcome. It's an asset to maximize. Think about it. In a world where so many people are trying to be the same, difference stands out. In a marketplace crowded with similarity, uniqueness gets noticed. In a culture that often celebrates conformity, authenticity is refreshed. So how do you turn your difference into your advantage? How do you leverage what makes you unique? First, identify your distinctive strengths. These aren't just things you're good at. They're things you're distinctively good at the areas where your unique perspective, experience, or approach gives you an edge. For me, one distinctive strength was my ability to take complex ideas and make them simple. I didn't just understand personal development and success principles. I could break them down in a way that made sense to anyone regardless of their background or education. That wasn't just a skill. It was a distinctive strength that set me apart in my field. It was a difference that became an advantage. What are your distinctive strengths? What can you do differently or better because of your unique perspective? What problems can you solve in a way that others... Second, position yourself at the intersection of your passions and problems. Find the place where what you love to do meets what others need to have done. That's where your difference becomes most valuable. I love teaching. I love helping people grow. And I discovered that there were plenty of people who needed someone to help them understand the principles of success in a practical, accessible way. That intersection became my sweet spot, the place where my passion met a problem that needed solving. What do you love to do? What problems do you see that need solving? Where do those two things meet? That's where your difference can become a powerful advantage. Third, tell your unique story. Everyone has a story, but no one has your story. The particular path you've walked, the specific challenges you've faced, the unique insights you've gained, these are assets that no one else has. I never tried to hide my background as a farm boy from Idaho. I never tried to present myself as someone with fancy credentials or a privileged upbringing. Instead, I leaned into my story. I shared how my humble beginnings shaped my perspective. I showed how my early struggles informed my philosophy. And you know what? People connected with that authenticity. They appreciated hearing from someone who had walked a path they could relate to. My story, which could have been seen as a liability in some circles, became one of my greatest assets. What's your story? What experiences have shaped you? What challenges have forged you? What lessons have changed you? Your story, told with authenticity and purpose, can become a powerful tool for connection and influence. 4, create your own rules. Don't try to win games designed for someone else. Create games where your unique strengths give you an advantage. I didn't try to compete with academic theorists or celebrity motivational speakers. I created my own category, the philosophy teacher for everyday people. I didn't play by the rules of academia or entertainment. I created my own rules based on my distinctive strengths and my unique approach. How can you create your own rules? How can you design a game that maximizes your unique advantages? How can you build a path that leverages your distinctive differences? 5th, stay adaptable. Being different doesn't mean being rigid. It means being true to your core while remaining flexible in your approach. When you turn your difference into your advantage in these ways, something magical happens. The very things that once made you an outsider now make you a leader. The very qualities that once made people question you now make them follow you. The very differences that once made people uncomfortable now make you invaluable. That's the paradox of uniqueness. What separates you eventually becomes what elevates you. What makes you different eventually becomes what makes you successful. But only if you have the courage to embrace it. Only if you have the wisdom to develop it. Only if you have the persistence to leverage it. So remember this, they can't handle you because you're not like them. And that's not just okay. That's your greatest strength. That's your biggest opportunity. That's your most valuable asset. I've seen it time and time again. The people who make the biggest mark on this world are the ones who refuse to be like everyone else. They're the ones who listen to their own voice instead of the crowd. They're the ones who follow their own star instead of someone else's map. And it's never easy. It's never comfortable. It's never without risk. But it's always, always worth it. The question isn't whether being different is hard. The question is whether being ordinary is acceptable to you. The question isn't whether standing out comes with a price. The question is whether fitting in costs you more than you're willing to pay. Your uniqueness is not a burden to bear. It's a gift to share. Your difference is not a weakness to hide. It's a strength to use. Your distinctiveness is not an obstacle to overcome. It's a path to follow. Embrace it, develop it, leverage it. And watch how the very thing that once made you an outsider will make you extraordinary.